But what if my kid can do that after school? In principle, of course, I won't tell him. What if he never had to work? What if he had enough net worth where he can just dream? Of course, it's people will say, no, he has to work and blah, blah, give you all that. That is fine. But the freedom to do what he or she wants to do, can we provide such a platform? It's a third order kind of objective.
Yeah. Utopia.
Right? It is, yeah. So I completely understand that. For many people, investing for retirement is a challenge. Investing for the first kid is a challenge. Second kid is a bigger challenge, etc., etc. So I understand that. But beyond all that, this is because it's a moving goalpost. Can we think about that? Can we think about where they have a platform where they can just do what they do something, they try, they fail, they fall back, they do something again, they get up, do something again. That's fine. Financially, they're covered. This is something that I've been thinking of. Many people will disagree with me, saying it's irresponsible parenting, but somehow I feel that I think that is the way we drive creativity in our children. If somebody is creative, then you can you can be that guy who supports them. Then this can be some magic. Hopefully, I don't know. I mean, it's just I'm dreaming.
Welcome back to part 2 of Investing for Children. It's been a great chat so far, and if you've heard our episode last week, I think you'll look forward to this second part very keenly. But we ended on a philosophical note, the last episode. And the maths is constantly coming to my mind about how 10 lakhs at 10% each year becomes 26 lakhs, perhaps in due course. What else about financial planning for children should we start looking at, and what is the maths or thumb rules we should be aware of?
So yeah, today there are many online goal planning calculators. You can use them, but you should be really careful about what are the inputs that you put in, because many people they are aware of inflation when it comes to children's future planning, etc. But what they do is they make the mistake of entering for the return. In the planning calculator, there'll be a entry for the return expected. They will enter the return expected for equity there. And that's not how it works, because your portfolio will not be 100% equity. And even if you hold, let's say 70% of equity, you cannot be holding 70% of equity for the entire duration, because you will have to start lowering it down. So if you take all that into account over the course of your investment duration, which is like about 10 to 15 years, maybe a little more in some cases, it all depends on when you start investing. The overall return after tax, first of all, it will be single digit. This will be overall portfolio return. It cannot be double digits, because you don't.
Right.
If you're lucky, it could be, but it's better to expect less.
7, 8, is that?
Yeah, something like
safe?
That. Yeah,
right.
Something like that. Then you're very safe. So 8% you're very safe. But that would mean, of course, that you will have to compensate for it. So I said inflation is 10-11%, but the overall portfolio return after tax is lower than inflation. So the real return is negative, which is fine, which means that you have to compensate a little bit by investing more. And just like in the case of retirement, we said if X is your expense, try to invest 100% of X or up at least 75% of X. I think a simple thumb rule can be take the current cost of the desired college education. And yes, as you said, it's a very hard thing to set a goal, because you don't know what your child is going to do. But this is where I think parents should keep a diary, online or offline, talk to other parents with children, with older children who have just entered college. Make a list of college fees. This college, this city costs this much in this year, and this stream costs this much. Once you have that, you can have some kind of, and then you can discuss with your child what you want to do and so on, and you get some idea. Then whether it's 10 lakhs today or 25 lakhs today, whatever it is, you have something to play with. It will be fussy. It is bound to change, but you still have some number. You have to enter some number there in the goal planning calculator. And as a thumb rule, I will say, if why is your current cost of college fees, try to invest 15 to 20% of that cost every year in a 50-50 kind of portfolio, 50% equity, 50% fixed income kind of portfolio.
Very interesting. So you've identified perhaps a target college or 3 target colleges. Roughly, they're around 10 lakhs today. You're saying invest maybe 1.5 to 2 lakhs per year from this point onwards to reach your goal, correct? And that 1.5 to 2 lakhs should be 50% equity, 50% debt.
Yes, approximately. Yes.
Nice. I have a scary question to ask. What if the current college fees are somewhere like 25, 30 lakh? Are you saying they're also increasing at 10% a year?
It could be more.
Oh dear.
The fancier colleges can afford to hike fees more. See, for example, take the IIT system. The IITs would today cost about a lakh a semester without any kind of scholarships and so on.
And that's just fee.
Just the fee. I think the hostel accommodation, etc., comes on top of that.
Right. So say maybe 5 lakh a year safely with books and maybe a little bit of travel.
Yeah. So the problem is, for few years the IIT fees will stay stable,
Right.
and then they'll suddenly spike up. Just before your child enters college, they'll spike up. So that's why you need to inflate it by 10%, 11%, so that you can handle that shock if it happens to you, later.
So an IIT today, 5 lakh a year is basically 20 lakh education today, right? Over 4 years.
Yes.
With inclusive of fee and books and, and food and travel and a little bit of partying, etc., etc. All right. Going away from thumb rules and perhaps ways of investing, are there any products that we should seriously look at that perhaps the government has introduced or are in the private sphere? And we don't shy away from naming anything over here on the show because, we aren't sponsored by anyone. We only mean for the best for our parents who are listening. What do you suggest in terms of products?
So, just like in the case of retirement, if there's a product that says retirement plan or a pension plan, say no to it. Similarly here, if it's something says child plan or child education plan, say no to it. You build your own portfolio with liquid products, as liquid as possible you can, and that will be the best solution to it. So in the equity side, just as in the case of retirement, an index fund would do, here also a simple index fund, a Nifty or a Sensex index fund will get the job done. So there's no need to go beyond that.
Can I push you a little bit, Pattu? Why do you shy away from these products? What are the issues you have with them?
Because there's always going to be a catch. They will be expensive. The returns that expensive in the sense that the returns that you get would be much less. Would be just like 5-6%, and they'll cost a lot more. That is, most people will not have enough money to put 60% in equity and 40% in these products. Many of these traditional child education products or whatever, because they'll cost a lot more. So what that will do is the portfolio will be skewed in favor of fixed income. Therefore, that will lower the overall portfolio return much more, and you would fall short of your corpus.
What about things like Sukanya Samriddhi? I think that's the name. I have 2 girls, right? Parents speak very highly of it. Are there any things that I need to be worried about, or is it just not performing well enough? Is that your bottom line?
No. Those are the government-sponsored tax-free product. But the problem is that we must ask, who is the product for? That product is for the lower income group who mistreat girl child. They marry them off. They don't educate them. And that's who the product is designed for. It's not designed for you and me, right? For us, we like the product because it gives you 0.5% more than PPF, and all other conditions being the same, tax free, etc., etc. But the problem with that product is you will get only 50% of the corpus at the time the girl child turns 18.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's not fully liquid. It's only liquid after 25, the girl child turns 25 or so. I forgot the rule, but at the time when she's of marrying age. So
Right.
it's not a suitable product for an undergraduate education at best.
Got it.
Maybe you can use it for her marriage or maybe for her postgraduate education, maybe, and so on. But so you have to have liquidity. You can't say, I'm going to invest all my money in there. Of course, 1.5 lakhs only. That's the maximum. And that's not going to be enough for many of these. So, and if you maximize your investment in Sukanya, most of your money would get locked. You won't get only 50% at the time of college. And many people enter college before 18. They don't turn 18 after when they graduate from school. It depends on when they were born and when they got admitted and so on. So that's a problem. So I would say you don't need it, but if you are
it's a nice to have.
Yeah, it's a nice to have thing. If you like the tax-free thing and so on, use it maybe for PG or marriage, but PPF will get the job done.
Speaking about marriage, right? That's a big question on our list as well. We've spoken about this education of today. We've tried to put some ballparks, and you can just explore of what that target university costs today and then do 10% per year increase. Then there is the marriage, the big fat Indian wedding that you have to plan for. Then there's all kinds of other stuff. So does investing for kids, Pattu, and this is what my question is, fall into different buckets, or is it just one corpus? How does one approach this problem?
It depends on what you can afford. I think UG is mandatory. Paying for the UG fee, college fees, absolutely mandatory. There can be no two things about it.
Yeah, I think that's a basic as a parent that you need to do.
Then, if you can't afford the PG, if you can't afford the marriage, it's a happy problem because you can tell the kid, I can't, this is it, I'm done. After this, I have to take care of my retirement. Please do what you can. That's a happy problem in my opinion. But there are many people who say, I won't, pay for PG. I will only pay for UG and that's it. That is because their experience. We are all victims of our own experience. So they would say, I funded my own PG education, my MS in the US or something like that. Therefore, I expect my child to do so. That may or may not happen.
Right.
So I think we should just be ready to do it. Even if we tell the kid, I won't, I think we should plan for it. The marriage is again, the same thing. There are many people who funded their marriage today. They would say, I will not fund my kid's marriage.
Fair enough. Yeah.
That's all right. But there are other issues to it. I think the young Indians have become more and more sexually active these days. And there's a possibility of a shotgun marriage very early. Where they are kids in college and they're forced to marry because they have a kid themselves.
Right.
And so those kind of things, it can be something beyond your control where you have to suddenly pay. And therefore, so the point is, the more you plan, the lesser are the chances you will draw from your retirement corpus.
Yeah.
That should be the fundamental aim of planning. That is, you think about everything that can happen to you so that you don't, just because of some other emergency or some other goal, you don't withdraw from your retirement corpus. That is why I keep telling people, okay, you don't want to fund your child's PG, you don't want to fund their marriage, fine. You tell them that. But you plan quietly so that the risk of depleting your retirement corpus is not there. And of course, all this means you will have to invest more and more. So it's a tricky thing.
Yeah. More and more is indeed the overarching thought when you have kids, right? When we talk about more and more, Pattu, we should just push away all thoughts of having an emergency fund separately for our kids, right? I mean, we're just creating more and more stuff that we have to plan for and put away money for. So an emergency fund, which is just one emergency fund, should perhaps be larger than normal so that it covers emergencies for the kids?
Yeah, I mean, until I would say school, we can manage with just one fund, normal kind of monthly expenses. about 12 months of expenses, we should be able to manage somehow. But after that, once they become adults, there can be situations where they need a chunk of money. They would suddenly say, I want to, build a startup. So you fund me.
Go on my gap year.
Yeah, gap is okay. We can fund their day-to-day expenses. But if they say, I want 25 lakhs, 30 lakhs for my startup, you have to get, touch your retirement corpus then. You don't want to do that. So it depends. So you can't plan for these. That is for sure. You can't plan for every kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you'll have to be careful about what happens. You can't be too emotional because some children, they're good. You can back them. Some of them are not. They just talk, but they won't back it with hard work. Then you should say no. The parent should say no. You have to find some other way. So it's a hard thing to do. It's not easy.
I'm reminded of how you said when we're talking about real estate and property and how when we're planning for that, we just never think about retirement, our own retirement, and how you have to be very emotional about that to make the right decisions for property and real estate as well. Do you feel the same thing about kids, or is kids something that is too emotional a topic which perhaps takes precedence over your retirement?
So everything becomes emotional with us. That is our, I would say, our strength as well as weakness in India. So, of course, it's true for everybody. Everybody is emotional. We just think that we are more emotional than the others, but we don't have any special realm to be in. But yes, but we have to be careful about what we say yes to beyond a point to children. If they are going to keep asking us for money, then it's trouble for us, because then they may not be independent on their own. And so they can't take care of us anyway. So if we are going to deplete our corpus for them, then we'll be in trouble. They are not going to take care of us. We don't have enough money on our own. It's a big problem. So it's tough. It's really, really tough. We can't, there are no generics here.
Right. We've got a very interesting question from Mudita in our team. And one is around insurance. She says there's something called a premium waiver benefit. Do you want to discuss a little bit about that, Pattu, and how what it basically means is, if you buy an insurance policy and you happen to pass away, this premium waiver benefit ensures that your child does not have to pay that premium and then gets the benefits of it when it, matures. I don't know if maturing is the right word. But what are your thoughts about this? And
yeah, so that would be typically the case in a child plan. That says that is for the child's college, future plan, college plan, etc. That kind of a rider or a waiver would be there. But we are saying don't buy those. Period. So we don't need to worry about it. You have products, buy from the government, PPF, Sukanya, equity mutual funds, maybe some debt mutual funds, little bit of them. That should be more than enough to get the job done. You don't need it.
And you said something interesting in our call before we started recording about how you need to opt for that, because once you pass away, you can't opt for that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
That is with respect to the term insurance. That is
right.
The, forget the act name, the married MW. Can you see that? I forgot.
It says PWB, or was it the MWP Act, I'm sure, of 1874, right?
Yeah. So
this is from Married Women Property Act of 1874.
So that just means you can't touch that. So the people who you owe money to, they can't touch that.
Right.
That's the case with PPF as well. So yes, but that's a thing that you have to opt for at the time of buying term life insurance.
Understood. Yeah.
If you have got term life insurance without opting for this option, then you can't go back and correct it. As far as I know, you can't go back and correct it.
So this is so interesting, Mudita. Thanks for pointing it out. It's the MWP Act of 1874, which really protects you if the proposer passes away. And perhaps people don't talk about this enough. I have bought term insurance plans and I'm just clueless about this particular thing. What if I do owe people money, Pattu, and thankfully I do not, but there are people who have home loans and, other kinds of debt.
No.
Why isn't this talked about openly enough?
So home loan is not a problem, because no bank will sell you a home loan without getting themselves the insurance. There will be a insurance with reducing cover. So
Right.
as you pay premiums on the home loan balance decreases, the term insurance balance also will decrease. So in case the person passes away, the house will remain with the family. The bank will simply say stop paying EMIs, and they'll just take the money from the insurance because they're the nominees. So
Understood.
that's paid off. But there's one catch here. I just learned this. I learned of a situation in a family. The bank said pay one extra EMI after the person had passed. So that that's
But for 1 month.
just for 1 month. After
Right.
that, they said they will take care of it via the insurance. So those are so loans. That kind of loans is not a problem. Home loan is not a
Right.
problem, but there are many business people who will borrow from unregulated sources, from relatives, from people on the street and so on. They are in trouble.
But
But
what if you have a business loan from a bank? Is that affected with this?
no, that won't be the bank cannot touch your thing. But the problem is if it is a regulated kind of thing from a bank or some kind of lending agency, then it's easier to fight. But if you're getting the loan from some relative or some goon on the street, loan shark as they call, they won't care about any act. They would still
Exactly.
harass you.
That's my point.
They
Yeah.
would still harass you. So you have to be careful about how you do. But it's an
Okay.
important consideration.
So as we wind down this entire topic of investing for children, one key fact or one key question: you'll have various kinds of parents, Pattu, such as yourself, who started planning even before Chinchu was born. People like me who started planning perhaps when we realized we needed to when kids were around 3 or 4 years old. Luckily, it didn't turn out to be too late. And there are parents perhaps who are listening to this who have not started putting away money for the kids, and now the kids are around 10, 12, 14 years old. Is there any difference in approach for these parents apart from just trying to put away more and more? And how do you avoid risk? I mean, what I'm trying to understand, is there any change in approach for these kind of three
Or
situations?
most definitely. So the kind of portfolios we talked about where we say 50% equity or 60% equity is for young parents. Like up to 3 years, you can, when the child is 3 years, you still have a leeway of 15 years to college. So that's fine. But once the child is much older, you can't invest more in equity. So you will have to change your portfolio significantly. It can so as the child grows older, the equity, and you start late, then the equity allocation will reduce significantly. And if the child is already in let's say sixth standard, seventh standard, I would say it will be a predominantly debt portfolio. And you
Isn't that counterintuitive though, where parents want to accelerate this fund for their children, and therefore they look at equity as the only option? And how does one, wrap their mind around the fact that they know it should only be in debt?
No, the problem is there's not enough time to manage the risk. See, in equity, the key aspect is you need time in case the market fails and it stays failed for several years. That's your biggest risk of equity investing. If that happens during the time your kid is in school and a big chunk of those years are gone, then you're in deep trouble. You have to compensate it some way, some other way. So that's the reason why if your kid is a toddler, first standard, second standard, third standard, you can take this risk of
Right.
50% equity. But sixth standard, seventh standard, you cannot. So you have to have a predominantly fixed income portfolio. But to handle this inflation, you'll have to compensate by investing more. Unfortunately, this is the problem. So that's the
Yeah.
price of starting late.
And I guess there's just no way around that. Start early. People who are planning kids, start early if you're a new parent. And even if you're a 25-year-old techie listening to Pattu, right? There is a chance children might enter your life. So you never know. It's never too early. Pattu, let's end this episode on something I've been waiting to talk about for a long time, which is your book, Chinchu Gets a Superpower. Very, very interesting book. And I feel this book is the magic sauce where it will help every parent even plan for their children's future. And I'll tell you why I feel it's such an important thing. The biggest problem while having young kids is are their demands, right? And they're influenced so often by what they see around them, by their peers, by their friends, and it becomes a stress point the more they ask for. I think it is the biggest service you can do, and this is not a plug, or maybe it is a plug because it's Pattu, right? It's the biggest service you can do to get the thoughts that Pattu has put into that book, Chinchu Gets a Superpower, and discuss it with your child. I think for me, it was such an eye opener because they need to be part about this financial planning, right? They need to be aware about how it's affecting the parents and planning for their future. Pattu, what made you write that book? Tell us the story behind it.
So I've been encountering people in the forums and in life, and they always say, "How can I get my child, interested in money management?" And because they started late, they talked about the power of compounding, etc., late. They say, "I want to teach all that." I tell them, "Look, if you start teaching them concepts, they're going to look at it as just another subject and forget about it."
Yeah.
Because unless and until you earn that money and you see the money getting spent, you will not realize the importance of managing it properly. So that can wait. However, we can actually teach them how to research about a product. Because, like you said, peer pressure is a very important thing. For example, there is this PlayStation thing. I get the gaming consoles, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I have a very nice book written by a reader about that, and that is how I started bundling this idea. So let's say your child wants this, the latest gaming console,
Yeah.
Xbox, whatever they call. So you can kind of urge your child to tell them, look, instead of buying a gaming console, why don't you think about buying a custom made PC where you have these colorful fans they have, right? And I don't know what they call. So that can be used for gaming. It can be used for your research, for your homework, etc. And it will last a lot longer and it is much more robust. But for that, you do the research. I'm not saying I won't buy you this. You buy. But when you do the research, you're going to realize that you're going to get yourself a better product than what your friends are having. You can flaunt it before them, and that's going to last a lot longer. You can upload anything you want in it, do whatever. So that way, you tell them you go do research. And I say, in my opinion, research is the best form of delay gratification.
Absolutely.
So you have this shiny object that you want to, you covet and you want to possess, but you start reading about it and you realize, oh, it's not so shiny after all. Maybe something that's better, that looks dull, but it's actually, much more useful than this product. But that comes when you obsess about doing the research. So that's what I do. Every big purchase, I spend a lot of time researching, and that helps me learn things. And so, in my opinion, that is the gift that we can impart to children. Tell them nothing is off the table. We're not going to say no to you, but you do research. You come and tell me, is this the best bang for the buck? Go find out other options. Go look at YouTube videos. I often forget that the younger people use YouTube as a search engine. For them, Google is not a search engine. They go straight to YouTube and search. So, I mean, there are lots and lots of tutorials and videos of the pros, cons, unboxing, this and that and so on. Go look at all that. Then I've always seen that my mindset has changed. I was focused on one brand, one spec, then I'll buy something very different.
Absolutely.
And be happier. I'm happier with that. So I wanted to see if I can try and put that into kind of a format which the young people would appreciate. And yeah, it has done reasonably well. I would say there are many young people who have written to me, as feedback.
And, it's fabulous.
And
I'll tell you what you haven't spoken about, Pattu. It's once you do that research and you figure out, I'm happier, this is what I want instead. You also include the children in the planning of buying that, right? It's not a one shot. And if it's a one shot, why is it a one shot? And you even speak about this entire envelope system in your book, and how you need to start putting aside money that mommy and papa are earning every single month, and then you understand how everything fits into your life. I think this is the missing ingredient for all kinds of investing for kids, so that they help you with spends, with investing, etc., etc. One final question, Pattu. I don't know if you've ever thought about this, right? One day your kid is going to be 18, 20, 25, etc., etc. At what point do you give them access to controlling their own money that you invested for them? Number one. And at what point do you give them access to the entire family's money?
That's a good point. That brings me to this. What I want to say. Many people, when they want to, start their kids on money management, they open a savings bank account for them. They open some kind of mutual fund account. Also, they invest in the name of the child and so on. I would recommend against it, because it really doesn't help them in any way. Because when I was young, my father used to say, you need to learn to write a check. You need to learn to write a demand draft. Nobody does that anymore. Of course, I still occasionally write the check, but nobody writes demand drafts anymore. It's all changed. The technology is completely changed, right? So you don't need to teach them those kind of banking rules or money management rules. And I don't think a minor account is going to be of any use to them. And I don't believe in the system of pocket money. I believe that if the child wants something, they should come to us and say, I want this. And this is when the discussion, like you said, we include them on the research and say, is this really helpful for you? Even if it is even if it's an ice cream, you ask them questions. Is this really of help to you? Is this going to help you? Are you, is it healthy eating that much sugar in a concentrated form? Those kind of questions you ask, and my son gets real angry when I do that, because he says,
I can imagine.
You make me guilty. I said, that's the idea. So, but yeah, so this is it. And giving them control, I would say it's need based. Once they get into college, they have to, fend for themselves, depending on where they are, especially if they're in the hostel environment. We have to push them some money into their account every month and so on. Then they have the control to do that, of course, within limits. Before that, it's very dangerous to do it to school children, especially if the kids are in some kind of preteen, the adolescent age. That's when they want to break all the rules. That's when they want to rebel. So don't give them too much money, access to money, especially. Kids are very smart these days, because if you are logged into websites and so on, they can get all your passwords. They can spend, even if it's in your account, they can, authorize the spend.
Figure it out.
Yeah, they can figure it out. So it's very dangerous. So it's better not to do that. So it's better to always just say, you can come and ask me anything, but we will discuss it. And then we will buy what is within our budget and what is suitable for you. So that kind of it's always better to encourage them to talk about spending rather than anything else.
So, Pattu, have you ever thought about whether money is the only thing you leave behind for them? And as Heer on our team wants to know, is it more valuable when you teach them how to fish?
Very subjective kind of thing. Of course, it's important to leave them good values, but that assumes that we have them ourselves, and we may or may not. The point is, do we have time to do that? There's it's a thing that the time when the kids are young, we are busy with our lives, and when we are retired and we can spend time
for us.
There's a very nice song, I forgot, Cats on the Cradle, I think.
With the silver spoon?
Yeah, that's the song that depicts it. So I think we should spend time with our children as much as possible. And when we do that, automatically, I think we will be leaving them with a lot more than just money.
Beautifully put. On that note, I think it's fair to bring this two-part discussion on investing for children to a close. And so while some of y'all battle with the thought of even having children, and some of y'all battle with the thought of, children entering your lives without planning. Whatever the case may be, whether you're in one camp which believes it's all about the continuation of your life and, what is life without children, and the other camp about enjoying life separately, whatever it may be, try and impart this knowledge about investing for children. Try and think about the people around you and how they are raising and investing children. And I think this world might be a better place. But two last thoughts before we close. Thank you so much for today's episode.
Yeah, so it was great talking about this with you as well. So I have a couple of things to say. One is that I think our children should be free to talk to us at all times, at all ages. So now when they are young, they always come running to us when they are in trouble or they are happy, but after they cross over into the teens, they kind of quieten down, and they talk a little bit with the mother. Typically they talk much less with the father. And that's when all this trouble starts, especially in college. I see that a lot from where I work. These kids, they don't open up about their problems, and that's because the parents expect them to live life in a certain way. They say, when I was young, I did that, my father did this, so I expect you to do that. Doesn't work. That never works. And they keep quiet. They don't share their troubles with their parents, and even if whether it's money trouble or any trouble, they don't share. So I think we should, as parents, we should create an environment where the children are free and to talk to us. Any problem, they come to us first. So then that automatically means they can live happier, productive lives. We don't interfere, but we provide the advice. We provide counsel, but not. So that's one thing I wanted to say. The other thing is, I once wrote an article, what if our children never had to work? And this was taken in the wrong sense by many people. Very few people got what I wanted to say. So what I wanted to say was that the same thing like what Jatin Das did, offer them a platform where they can do anything. See, all I ever wanted to do in life was just dream, do nothing, eat my breakfast and dream in the hot Chennai, summer. That's all I ever wanted to do. Of course, I could never do that because financially I could never manage. Maybe now I could. But what if my kid can do that after school? In principle, of course, I won't tell him. But what if he never had to work? What if he had enough net worth where he can just dream? Of course, it's people will say, no, he has to work and blah, blah, give you all that. That is fine. But the freedom to do what he or she wants to do, can we provide such a platform? It's a third order kind of objective.
Yeah. Utopia.
Right? It is, yeah. So I completely understand that. For many people, investing for retirement is a challenge. Investing for the first kid is a challenge. Second kid is a bigger challenge, etc., etc. So I understand that. But beyond all that, this is because it's a moving goalpost. Can we think about that? Can we think about where they have a platform where they can just do what they do something, they try, they fail, they fall back, they do something again, they get up, do something again. That's fine. Financially, they're covered. This is something that I've been thinking of. Many people will disagree with me, saying it's irresponsible parenting, but somehow I feel that I think that is the way we drive creativity in our children. If somebody is creative, then you can you can be that guy who supports them. Then this can be some magic. Hopefully, I don't know. I mean, it's just I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's good to dream.
Pattu never fails to surprise us, right? I think that was parenting 101. Spend time with them. That's the most important thing. Give them a platform to thrive and dream, and then put aside some money for them. And these 2 episodes was all about that. But as he also said, make sure you're that parent that whenever there's trouble, you're the first person they come to. And when there's financial trouble in your life, let's get rich with Pattu should be the first people you come to. So please write in, please contribute, please share this with everyone. And thank you so much for listening today, Pattu. What a pleasure. Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.